Welcome to the Pitch Your Pick podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the sports books, find our favorite plays, and pitch them to each other to find the best bets every day. I'm Joe. This is Jer. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. I had a good day at work, and I am excited to pitch my first college basketball bets on the
Oh yeah,
podcast.
we love that. We love that for you. Now, I will say I had a great day, and like the personal bets, the podcast bets are going pretty decent. We still have one that's going on, so we can't really talk about that quite right now. But we'll check those a little bit later. But I guess we can start it off really quick today and just cover the slate of games that we will be seeing really quickly. So if you want to start it off like you always do and cover this wonderful NHL slate, I guess we can do that out real quick, right?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up here. We've got tonight. It's a busier night. We've got 4, 8, 10, 11 games in the NHL tonight. Scrolling through here, seeing the Toronto Maple Leafs playing the Dallas Stars. That's always an interesting matchup with the Leafs playing like garbage right now. You got the Arizona Coyotes, the most exciting team in hockey right now, playing the Montreal
Oh, we
Canadiens,
love
another
that.
most exciting team in hockey. Two dumpster flyers playing some great hockey. Um, Surprisingly, it could be a great matchup, actually. The Pittsburgh Penguins and Nashville Predators should be a good game. The Rangers are at home, so that's probably a dub for the Rangers. They don't lose games at home. Detroit's going to allow another 10 goals to Edmonton. And Boston and Chicago go at it. Boston's probably going to fill up the net in that one as well.
All right, we like that. All right. You always love at least a day where there's a lot of games. I mean, you gotta like that at least a little bit.
Wonderful day for some props, looks like. There's a whole bunch of teams that score a lot of goals and a whole bunch of teams that give up a lot.
So
Love to see things like that.
stay tuned for the Prop Dr. J Twitter to start going crazy with those wonderful charts showing you guys what you need. Stay tuned on that.
You're right.
The
Gotta
NBA,
load that up for tomorrow.
the NBA though, it's a little underwhelming. But I do have one bet here. We'll talk about the Suns and the Pelicans. Aside from that, we're gonna watch the Heat just obliterate the Pistons. The Nets with Katie and Kyrie probably teach the Magic how to play basketball real quick. We might see Steve Nash, walking up to the Magic coach, write down a few plays for him to try out in the fourth quarter. You never know. And then we have the Grizzlies and the Magic or Pacers, where John Morant will probably jump over Tyrese Halliburton or somebody at some point and get a nice little post highlight that we'll see all over Bleacher Report. So, pretty underwhelming set of games, but we do have college basketball. March Madness is essentially, it's not quite here, but it's essentially here. My favorite time of year. At this point, March Madness is a holiday for me. I call into school, tell my professors, I'm feeling sick, can't come in, and I just watch games all day.
Got the COVID.
I got the Rona, and I can't do it. So it's gonna be fun. But this is just a playing game. So we have Texas A&M CC, which I think is Corpus Christ, Chris, and Texas Southern are playing, and Indiana and Wyoming. I'm pretty sure we agree on one of the picks here, in Indiana and Wyoming, but Jared has a pick on this Texas A&M and Texas Southern game, which would be pretty fun to look at, I think. So
I'll be spitting fugazi.
so I guess we'll talk about the pick that we have in common first, which is that Wyoming and Indiana game. So I think both of us have Wyoming to cover the spread here. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Because if you guys should check out the bracket that we made yesterday, we both are pretty high on this Wyoming team. We think they can make a nice little run. So if you want to see our full breakdown of why we like this team, I would check out that March Madness bracket video that we did. Find where we talk about Wyoming. But the simple fact that I think made us both like this, Wyoming came out as 1.5-point favorites when the bets first came out. When I was checking it this morning, I go to class and I come back, and Indiana are 4-point favorites because all of the money is flowing to Indiana right now, and I just think that is absolutely fugazi. Even on KenPom, Wyoming is only a 1-point favorite, so Indiana being a 4-point favorite, I just think is absolutely wild. I get people think Indiana can win this, and I do think that they have a chance there, but I think Wyoming, at minimum, is covering this +4 spread.
Yeah, no, I love this Wyoming team. It's the only college basketball team I've semi-followed this year. But I like the size that they bring. They're efficient from the field is one of the biggest things that I like coming into these college basketball tournaments. They're a great rebounding team. They're not too hot coming into this
That is
game.
true.
They're what'd you say, 1-4 in their last
Wyoming
10
is
games?
one and
Or last,
four in their last five at the spread, and Indiana's actually
yeah.
4-0 in their last four games. So I get the tale of two tapes right now, but I think that Indiana won't be ready for the heavy post up kind of
Yeah.
offense that Wyoming's bringing out here.
And I don't come tournament time, you kind of have to tend to throw everything out the window. It's a one game for your life.
Yeah, it's in the best of seven series. This is a one game winner takes all.
Yeah, who matches up better? And I think that team's Wyoming.
So we're both going for it. We'll see if it works in our favor, but we'll go for it. And since we're already looking at it, I guess you can talk about this Texas A&M and Corpus Christi and Texas Southern. I'll never be able to say Texas A&M and Corpus Christi or Corpus Christ correct the first time. But yeah.
And neither will I, so we'll be calling them A&MCC.
A&MCC, I like that. All right, what do we got in this game?
Yeah, so this game is actually one that's going to kick off our March Madness tournament. It's going to decide the 16th seed. And this Islanders team has only been in this tournament once. And that was back in 2007, I believe. And the Tigers team actually were playing in this exact play-in game last year, and they actually won it. And then they went on to the round of 64 and ended up getting obliterated, but they won this game last year. Something that doesn't really mean anything, but I thought was hilarious is the SWAC's 1-24 in March Madness games, and the Southland is 5-32. I just thought that was hilarious when looking at those. But the winner of this game will have to play Kansas on Thursday. So I think it's safe to say both of these teams are just worried about this first game. And neither of these offenses really have played great this year. Both aren't really that efficient, and both are honestly quite horrible from the 3-point line, which is somewhat surprising when you see both of these teams at the top of weaker conferences. But both have made it out with their defensive play. They both play solid defense. Both teams rank in the hundreds in the defensive efficiency category on KenPom. But Texas Southern plays a strong, straight up, lock you down defense. On the other hand, A&MCC is more aggressive and they try to force turnovers, but they give up some open looks because of that, but they do force those turnovers. And by the numbers, its style of defense looks to be effective so far, at least here, for at least the competition they've played. And I don't really know, but these teams, like by the numbers, look pretty comparable, look like they've played pretty comparable weak competition. And they'll probably be two of the better teams they've both played this season. AMCC, they keep it up tempo, but I don't think that's how Texas Southern will want to play this game. Texas Southern is a team to turn the ball over, which doesn't bode well against this AMCC team who likes to be aggressive. But Southern is also the more experienced team, being in this tournament last year. I like Southern to slow the game down here and make sure they don't get overwhelmed by the Islanders' defense. And I think this moment might catch the Islanders off guard a little bit early, and they might come out a little slow and shell-shocked. I think this Islanders team is going to struggle to score here if they aren't creating turnovers. KenPom has this game as a 68-65 win for Southern, with the books liking KenPom, or with the books and KenPom leaning towards Southeastern. And the total's set at 136.5 in this game. I'm going to take the under here. My lean is towards Southern winning, but I don't know if they can cover the spread. But if Texas Southern wins this one, they didn't get sped up by AMCC, and I think this game goes under.
Yeah, it's fair. Two consistent defensive teams that can't score, and you like an under. God, makes sense.
And the team that I like to win is the team that plays slower. If AMCC wins this one, this total goes over as well.
Fair enough.
Because they can't score in the half court. They can't.
I like that though. I think this will be an interesting one. I think for a lot of these teams, it's like these kind of teams. This is the game that really matters for them. You have that play-in one to really, I don't know, just get some sort of shine. So I hope one of them
Yeah.
comes out, gets this dub, and just really excels. Because obviously the historic precedent isn't to go on and win the
No.
next game. I mean, especially Kansas. So
No, and I just think like neither of these teams are looking towards beating towards Kansas. So I think like what most teams will feel, that pressure that most teams will feel in the next one, that's what these teams will feel. This game will be the most eyes on it that these teams have seen all year, especially when people are betting like crazy
yeah,
nowadays. So there's going to be more eyes drawn in from a betting perspective. You never know how young, basically teenagers, are going to respond to that type of pressure. So
I like that. I like that. I'll ride with it. And I guess you have one. Do you have one more college basketball bet, or did you move on over from that?
no, my only other bet that I had today was the Wyoming +4 and the
Okay, so
sprinkle on Wyoming's money
I'll
line.
be finishing us off then. Okay, and I'll be
Yep.
taking into the game that we talked about, the Suns and the Pelicans. And this one, I have a whole write up on this, but then I actually got to looking at it, and I was like, wait, I'd be taking this spread despite all of this stuff that I just wrote. And I'm taking the Suns at -6 because there's still no Brandon Ingram, and there's likely no CJ McCollum as well because he caught the Rona. So I don't really know how this is only a 6 point game for the Suns, but I'll take it. Because if I'm being honest, I probably would take the Suns at -6, even with Ingram and CJ playing, just because it's a lot of offense and no defense. And the Suns are just such a well-rounded, like versatile team, especially on the road, that they already are probably going to take this matchup with them. So the fact that neither of those guys are going to be in here, I think it's pretty interesting. Now, the Suns have been one of the best teams on the road. They're 19-12 at the spread compared to the Pelicans, 18-16 at the spread at home. And they've played three times previously where the Suns have taken two of those games. The one that the Pelicans did win was without campaign and without CP3. They still will be without CP3 and Cam Johnson, but they're still going to have Bridges, Booker, Ayton, and campaign. So I still think the Suns are looking great, especially compared to the Pelicans' pretty thin roster here. I think the Pelicans just won't have as much offense out here to really contend with this Suns team, who is a great defensive team without, two of their best players, if not their best offensive players. I think Valanciunas just isn't a great matchup against DeAndre Ayton. He's a good offensive kind of big, but the defense against a guy like Ayton's probably still going to get his out there. But I think it's going to be pretty great. In those two matchups that Phoenix won, they were by 12 and by 13. So with McCollum, I think, and Ingram in one of them, and with Ingram in the other one before the trade. So it's really just not looking like they can keep this up here. Campaign's averaging 15 points and 9 assists without Chris Paul in those last like 6-7 games. The dude is on an absolute tear. Devin Booker's obviously still going to get his, average 25, 26 points. The Suns team is just built perfectly to play without their stars. They have a perfect system. They have great movement with the ball. They play great defense. And I just think, again, with a thin Pelicans team as they already are, I don't really understand why it's only 5.5 or -6, depending on where you're looking for the Suns here.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either because I think what the books are still riding on here is the narrative that the Suns haven't figured it out
Which just isn't
without Chris
really
Paul
that
yet.
true if you look at the last game against the Lakers.
No, and I'll even go to a couple games before that. Like, so in their last 10, they're 4-6 against the spread, which isn't great, but it's also not horrible. It's basically average.
Especially when you've played Milwaukee and Miami in that time.
Yes.
And Utah.
And especially when you covered the spread against Miami by 25.
Yeah. I mean,
If you shrink that last 10 games down to their last 3, they played the abysmal Lakers, blew them out, covered the spread by 22 points. Game before that, they lost to the Toronto Raptors. I don't know. I'm biased, but I don't know if there's a better team in the NBA right in the last 5 games than the Toronto Raptors.
and it also took 42 from Trent.
Yeah. They like the Raptors have beat the Lakers, the Suns. They beat everybody in the last 5 games on this road trip, and then they went and beat Miami by almost. They beat them by 31 or 21. Sorry, but they were dogs going in that game. Cover the spread by 25 points.
Yeah, I think I can
Like
understand
I think they're figuring it out.
I can understand, no CP3, but I think the fact that campaign is just coming in there and absolutely hooping has really just made it easier on these guys. And I think Booker's first game back was against either Toronto or LA. I think it was, it was against Toronto. I think it was his first game back as well. I don't think he played against Miami as well. So they played Orlando, Milwaukee, and New York without him. So I think Booker's finally getting back into that groove, especially just absolutely torching the Lakers. I think it's a little bit wild, especially considering the fact that the Pelicans are down their 2 best players, most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still uncertain on McCollum, but he's most likely not playing this game.
I even like it with McCollum in the game. I don't think that it matters too much to me.
Yeah, because, Bridges has stepped up. Crowder stepped up. Ayton has been playing insane in this run. Booker's obviously going to get his.
Yeah, and and in the last 3 games, they obliterated Miami and obliterated the Lakers. I think the Raptors' loss is excusable.
Yeah,
because the Raptors are playing phenomenal basketball right now.
It's also the Raptors, when Gary Trent is scoring 30 plus, are one of the scariest teams that you have to go against on the road or when you're at home.
Yeah.
Because Gary Trent, when he decides to turn it on, that guy's diffy.
Yeah. I like that bet. That's easy.
So we'll go and make our daily pick screen real quick, and once that's ready, we'll show it to you guys, nice and pretty. All right, so here's actually yesterday's performance. Before we do the daily picks, we actually barely got cooked by the Raptors team total over. A little bit suspect. That's because they just kind of coasted to the end of the game, knowing they had the dub in the bag. So that's tough. But they did cover the spread, so both of us get a dub for that one. And Miles Bridges was just cooking, doing his typical thing. It was a nice and easy one, honestly, for him. I actually had such a good day betting today. We love to see the day on personal plays and stuff like that, which is awesome. But that brings me to a perfectly even record. I dug myself out of the hole. Luckily, I was just kind of going barely negative most of the week, so we're finally back to even. And Jer has still got that 1 extra dub to his record, which is a bit tough, but it's okay. It's okay. Maybe I'll crawl back eventually. But for today's picks, we have Wyoming to cover that spread versus Indiana at -110. Texas A&M CC and Texas Southern team total to go under 136.5. And Suns to cover their -6 spread versus the Pelicans. All of these are -110. So go out there and have some fun with those. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying these podcasts. This one is going to be a short one. We kind of wanted to give ourselves a slight easy day, considering the absolute blender we put ourselves through yesterday with that 2-hour podcast on the March Madness bracket. So please check.
That was wild.
Please check that out, because we spent a lot of time researching on that, and it's not doing the hottest. So please go check it out. Have some fun. I think it was a fun podcast to record either way. So if you guys are watching on YouTube and you enjoy it, that like button, comment what you guys think of the episodes, and hit that subscribe button if you guys are new to the channel. If you're watching on any of the podcast platforms or listening on any of the podcast platforms, make sure you leave us a wonderful 5-star review for our sexy voices. Go out there, make some bets, and make some money.
See ya.